When Canadian travelers began canceling Florida vacations in record numbers, it wasn't bad weather or flight prices. It was the sight of guns on the street. The state's newly legalized open carry law, meant to expand personal freedoms, backfired on tourism officials, turning everyday public spaces into zones of visible firearm presence. For many international visitors, especially from countries like Canada with stricter gun laws and different cultural expectations around safety, that shift sparked fear, not freedom.
Don't get fooled by the label. Subscribe now to uncover what's really behind your favorite brands and get the truth Big Food doesn't want you to see.
A 76% drop in flights from Canada to Florida in April 2024 made one thing clear. Perception is everything, and perception now is danger. This isn't just a tourism slump. It's a full-blown crisis of trust. A travel decision becomes political when safety feels compromised, and no marketing campaign can erase that. From Disney's dwindling attendance to rising living costs for local residents, the fallout is reshaping Florida's economy and exposing a broader decline in international confidence toward the U.S. As the global view of America dims and long-standing allies reconsider travel plans, it's no longer just about policy. It's about reputation, and how quickly it can collapse when comfort is replaced by caution. Florida's tourism officials made a catastrophic miscalculation. By backing the legalization of open-carry firearms in public spaces, they didn't just embrace a controversial policy. They lit a fuse on one of the state's most vital economic engines. The decision to prioritize gun visibility over visitor security has now backfired with global consequences, and the data proves it. International visitors, particularly Canadians, have responded decisively. There's been a 23% drop in land travel from Canada. At the British Columbia-Washington border crossings, traffic has plummeted by 40%, and that's not a coincidence. This isn't about currency exchange rates or airline delays. It's about safety. It's about trust. And right now, Florida has shattered both. While the law does exempt places like schools and airports, the very fact that people can now openly carry firearms in public spaces has introduced a new layer of anxiety, especially for foreign tourists who are unaccustomed to seeing guns on civilian hips. It has created an environment that feels unstable, unpredictable, and intimidating. Tourism thrives on comfort and predictability. This law has bulldozed both. This isn't about hypotheticals. The backlash is already showing up in cold, hard numbers. Canadians aren't just staying home. They're spending less when they do come. U.S. dollar purchases in Canada have fallen sharply. Air travel from Canada to Florida, down 76% in April 2024 alone. Florida's image as a warm, carefree vacation destination has been replaced by a sense of uncertainty. That's not a perception problem. It's a policy problem. The collapse in visitor confidence is now taking a visible toll on the Florida economy. Local businesses that depend on tourism dollars are reporting falling revenues. Lodging tax revenue is down 32%. Property values in popular tourist areas are dropping. Rising living costs are squeezing residents who once depended on a steady stream of international travelers to stay afloat. This isn't isolated. It's structural, and it's spreading. And let's be clear, this isn't just about Florida. It's a reflection of something much deeper. According to Pew Research Center data, only 34% of Canadians now view the U.S. positively. A majority now consider the U.S. a major threat. That's an astonishing reversal from just a few years ago. It's not just about guns. It's about growing distrust. The kind of distrust that no amount of glossy marketing or expensive advertising can undo. The tourism industry's response so far? Superficial. Instead of confronting the safety concerns head-on, they've rolled out generic campaigns like America the Beautiful, as if an anthem and a few stock photos of landmarks could erase the images of armed civilians in shopping malls or public parks. These campaigns miss the point entirely. Tourists aren't staying away because of branding. They're staying away because they don't feel safe, because trust has been broken. Even Disney, the symbol of American tourism and family escapism, isn't immune. Attendance is dropping. Families aren't willing to spend thousands on a trip where they have to wonder if a stroll through the park could be marred by open-carry tensions. And yes, rising ticket prices play a role, but the overarching issue is perception. When the U.S. looks unstable, Disney loses its magic. Meanwhile, Universal Orlando is eating into Disney's market share, drawing millions with the promise of fresh experience. The launch of Epic Universe couldn't have come at a better time for Universal. Tourists looking for alternatives are finding them. And the longer Florida's officials cling to the fantasy that all is well, the more ground they'll lose. What's worse is how these issues intersect with broader diplomatic damage. Hostile political rhetoric, erratic foreign policy, and frequent government shutdowns have all contributed to a global view of the U.S. as unreliable. That distrust trickles down to tourism. Canadian travelers, once a bedrock of U.S. tourism, are now turning elsewhere or staying home entirely. Some Americans are responding to this growing hostility by adopting behaviors like flagjacking, pretending to be from other countries to avoid backlash abroad. That's not normal. That's not sustainable. That's a symptom of a deeper moral and cultural crisis that's damaging how the world sees the United States. Social media is amplifying these concerns. Incidents involving disrespectful behavior by American tourists abroad or protests against U.S. policies go viral in minutes. They shape global opinion instantly. Countries are responding with stricter visa requirements. Americans traveling internationally are now navigating more suspicion and more red tape. That's not a coincidence. It's a consequence. And while Florida scrambles to defend a gun policy that alienates its core market, the rest of the country isn't doing much better. Surveys show a decline in positive international views of the U.S. and a growing preference for other countries like China. That's not just a soft power issue. It's an economic threat. When people stop seeing the U.S. as a safe, welcoming place to visit, they stop spending money here. The idea that trust can be rebuilt through advertising alone is a dangerous illusion. Trust isn't a slogan. It's built on action, on policy, on leadership. And right now, those in charge are failing. The problem isn't just bad PR, it's bad governance. Tourists, particularly international ones, prioritize safety. They want to know that when they spend their money, they'll be protected, welcomed, and respected. Florida's open carry law does the opposite. It tells visitors, we prioritize political symbolism over your comfort, over your experience, over your safety. And the cost of that decision is climbing every day. Falling tourism numbers, declining tax revenue, rising resentment. Florida had a choice, and it chose a law that plays well with one political base while alienating one of its most critical economic lifelines. Restoring trust will take more than commercials and fireworks. It will take a serious reassessment of priorities, a recognition that tourism is about more than hotel rooms and ticket sales. It's about perception, safety, and dignity. And right now, the message Florida is sending to the world is not one of hospitality. It's one of instability. The broader implications are just as alarming. As U.S. soft power fades, as perceptions of danger and hostility grow, the entire country faces an uphill battle to reclaim its position in global tourism and diplomacy. And superficial fixes will no longer cut it. This is a result of short-term thinking, of policy decisions made without understanding the economic and reputational fallout. The impact is not limited to one state. The damage ripples across borders, industries, and generations. The longer it's ignored, the more irreversible it becomes. If you found this breakdown valuable, make sure to like this video so more people see what's really happening. Drop a comment to let us know your thoughts, especially if you're Canadian or have changed your travel plans recently. Share this with someone who needs to understand the true cost of bad policy. And subscribe for more deep dives into the issues reshaping tourism, politics, and the economy. The damage from Florida's open carry law is no longer theoretical. It's unfolding in real time. And the people sounding the alarm aren't just policymakers or analysts. They're families canceling flights. They're small business owners closing shop. They're hotel managers watching occupancy drop from booked solid to barely half full. This is what happens when you gamble with safety in a state built on the back of tourism. For decades, Florida sold itself as the ultimate escape, a place where winters were traded for sunshine, where kids met cartoon characters and retirees soaked in warmth and security. That image took decades to build. It took weeks to begin unraveling once open carry was legalized. Tourists don't come for politics. They come for peace of mind. And right now, Florida isn't offering it. The law may allow open carry in public spaces, but it's not just a legal shift. It's a cultural one. It changes the emotional texture of a visit. When tourists walk down a street or stroll through a public park and see a stranger carrying a gun, their mind doesn't go to freedom. It goes to fear. Canadians, in particular, have been clear. They don't want a vacation in a place where open weapons are part of the landscape. And the numbers are undeniable. Land travel is down. Flights are down. Spending is down. You don't lose nearly a quarter of your Canadian road traffic and 3/4 of your flights from Canada in 1 month without a real cause. This isn't just economic. It's psychological. Canada once viewed Florida as a second home. Families returned year after year. Retirees bought properties. Businesses thrived on Canadian dollars. But now, trust is broken. That's not something a promo video can fix. And it's not just Florida that's suffering. It's the United States' broader international image. This goes beyond one law in one state. It reflects how the U.S. is now perceived globally: unstable, hostile, unpredictable. The same Pew data that shows only 34% of Canadians view the U.S. positively also reveals a broader truth. America's brand is in freefall. People are looking at what's happening: gun laws, government dysfunction, aggressive rhetoric. And they're rethinking everything from where to vacation to where to invest. Florida's tourism officials had a responsibility to protect that brand, at least within their state. Instead, they ignored the warning signs. They made a choice that alienated one of their largest and most reliable customer bases. They've undermined the very foundation of their own economy. And while Florida tries to convince tourists to return with glossy ads and upbeat slogans, they're ignoring the elephant in the room. Perception is reality. If a traveler feels unsafe, they are unsafe in their own mind. That's all it takes for someone to choose Spain over Sarasota, Italy over Orlando, or even British Columbia over Boca Raton. And while Florida officials cling to the idea that open carry is about freedom, they're losing sight of what freedom actually means for travelers. Freedom to relax. Freedom from worry. Freedom from confrontation. That's what people are really buying when they book a vacation. The economic backlash is just beginning. The 32% drop in lodging tax revenue is only the tip of the iceberg. Restaurants, car rental agencies, theme parks, tour operators, all of them depend on a steady flow of international visitors. And as those numbers shrink, the dominoes fall. Job losses, reduced services, higher costs for locals. This is how policy failures evolve into economic crises. Even the tourism powerhouses are bleeding. Disney, once untouchable, is experiencing historic lows in attendance. And while ticket prices have certainly played a role, that's not the whole story. Families are reevaluating whether it's worth spending thousands on a trip that feels less joyful, less safe, and less stable. The magic is fading, not because of cost, but because of confidence. Meanwhile, Universal Orlando is capitalizing on Disney's missteps. Epic Universe isn't just a new park. It's a redirection of the entire tourism flow. Millions who would have defaulted to Disney are now exploring alternatives. And that's the danger. Once loyalty is broken, it's hard to win back. Visitors are forming new habits, discovering new destinations, and moving on. None of this happens in a vacuum. It's part of a larger collapse of trust. Americans traveling abroad are feeling the shift too. The rise of flag-jacking, Americans pretending to be Canadian or European to avoid judgment or conflict, speaks volumes. When your nationality becomes a liability, something is deeply wrong. This trend reflects a kind of cultural retreat. Americans are becoming more defensive, more inward-looking, as the world grows more skeptical of their values, their politics, and their behavior abroad. And it's not just social, it's policy-driven. Tariffs, travel bans, shutdown, and public dysfunction are all feeding a narrative that the U.S. is no longer a reliable or safe destination. Across the globe, protests and social media campaigns target American travelers. Countries are tightening visa rules, not out of economic interest, but as a reflection of public pressure. Anti-American sentiment isn't hypothetical. It's documented, rising, and already affecting where people choose to go and how they're treated once they get there. And while the U.S. loses ground in global influence, other nations are filling the gap. Surveys now show rising preferences for destinations like China and other parts of Asia and Europe. In the competition for global tourism dollars and global respect, the U.S. is falling behind. This isn't just a moment. It's a shift, and it won't be reversed with slogans or incentives. The only way forward is meaningful reform. That means addressing not just the laws that drive away tourists, but the culture that allows them to pass without scrutiny. Florida's officials can keep pumping money into marketing campaigns. They can keep printing brochures, running Instagram ads, and staging tourism expos. But if they don't deal with the core problem, perceived and real safety, the decline will continue. You can't paper over fear. You have to fix what's causing it. What's needed now is not more spin. It's leadership. Leadership that understands tourism is more than attractions. It's trust. It's dignity. It's how a place feels the moment you step off a plane. Right now, Florida feels uneasy. It feels divided. And tourists are picking up on that faster than anyone inside the state government seems willing to admit. And the longer officials ignore that truth, the worse it will get. Tourism is built on relationships between nations, between communities, between people. When those relationships are strained, everything suffers. The solution isn't complicated. It's just inconvenient for those in power. Fix the law. Rebuild trust. Acknowledge the damage done and commit to reversing it, not through ads, but through policy, through safety, through listening to the very people who make the economy work, the visitors, the workers, and the families who just want to feel safe again. The ripple effect of Florida's open carry law doesn't stop at its borders. This is bigger than one state's poor judgment. It's a warning shot to the entire country, a demonstration of how fast decades of goodwill, economic momentum, and global reputation can vanish when public safety is sidelined for political theater. When officials pushed this law through, they weren't just signaling to their base. They were broadcasting a message to the world. That message was, we value performative politics over practical security. And that message landed loud and clear in living rooms across Canada, Europe, and beyond. International travelers, especially Canadians, heard it, and they responded the only way they could, by pulling out, canceling reservations, postponing trips, choosing anywhere else. You don't lose 76% of flights from Canada to Florida without sparking a crisis. You don't see drops in land travel, air travel, spending, and cross-border movement on this scale unless people are deeply unsettled. And when Canadian families, who once spent winters in Tampa or holidays in Kissimmee, say no thanks, that's not just a statistic. That's millions in lost revenue. It's empty hotel rooms. It's silent restaurants. It's tourism workers sent home early because shifts were cut. These aren't projections. There are losses happening right now. Florida's tourism economy isn't a side hustle. It's the core, and officials have lit a match under it. Worse still, the open carry law plays directly into a growing global perception of the U.S. as unstable and unsafe. It confirms what Pew's numbers are already showing. Trust in the U.S. is evaporating. Canadians used to view the U.S. as a friendly neighbor. Now, most of them see it as a threat. That shift didn't happen overnight. It's the result of years of volatile politics, rising gun violence, and aggressive foreign policy, all topped off with a domestic decision to normalize weapons in public view. Tourism doesn't operate in a vacuum. It's built on comfort, culture, and credibility. And when credibility disappears, everything else follows. Nowhere is that clearer than in places like Disney World. Once the beating heart of Florida tourism. It should be packed. It should be invincible. But it's not. Attendance is dropping. Families are rethinking the dream vacation, not just because of price hikes, but because something intangible has changed. That feeling of security, of carefree joy. It's been replaced with hesitation, unease, a question no parent should have to ask. Will we be safe? Meanwhile, Universal is capitalizing. Epic Universe is drawing attention, drawing crowds. And while healthy competition is good for business, what we're seeing here isn't just about business. It's about trust migration. Tourists are moving toward what feels fresh, controlled, and secure. That's no accident. And let's not pretend this is a temporary dip. Florida isn't just facing an off-season. It's facing a long-term reputational crisis. One bad policy can undo years of brand building. It can take just one summer of bad press to turn a top destination into a cautionary tale. And while officials stay in denial, talking about marketing strategies and new attractions, the actual problem remains ignored. You cannot market your way out of fear. You cannot airbrush security concern with drone footage and taglines. People are watching. The world is watching. And they're choosing elsewhere. And Florida? Florida is left counting the losses while pretending it's still leading the pack. It's time to stop pretending. This was a mistake. A strategic, economic, and cultural miscalculation. And the longer officials refuse to acknowledge it, the deeper the damage will go. Tourism isn't just a commodity. It's a relationship. When you break trust, you lose more than revenue. You lose relevance. Every Canadian family that turns to Europe instead of the U.S., every tourist that decides Asia feels more welcoming, every traveler who says, let's just stay home this year, they're casting a vote against complacency, a vote against danger, a vote against a country that used to feel like the center of the world and now just feels uncertain. There's a way back, but it's not through slogans. It's through leadership, through policy, through hard conversations about what kind of country America wants to be and how Florida wants to be seen in it. Tourism can recover, but not like this. Not while the message coming from lawmakers is that the comfort of carrying a weapon outranks the comfort of millions of visitors. If you care about what's happening, if you think this matters, then do your part. Hit the like button so this message reaches more people. Drop a comment and share your story or your thoughts, especially if you've changed your travel plans or work in tourism. Share this video with friends and family. And subscribe so you don't miss the stories that others are trying to ignore. Because this isn't over, and we'll be watching what happens next.